Hello and welcome to The Agenda with me, Graham Hughes, and I'm joined as always by Phil Moorhouse over in Yorkshire. I'm in Toronto at the moment at the Toronto International Film Festival. How you doing, Phil? Are you all right, mate? Have you had your morning?
I'm all right. I'm doing a lot better than Labour right now.
Well, I think most people are doing better than Labour. Most things are doing better than Labour. So, were you expecting this? Because I know it came along at 12 o'clock while you were about to start your live stream.
Angela Rayner had said she had bad tax advice. Now, we knew that she'd engaged in tax avoidance, which is dodgy in itself, by the way. That's, for someone in her position, that's dodgy. But we can go on that in a minute. So she'd said she had bad advice. So there's me thinking, well, do you know what? In the past, I once engaged a solicitor for something and they turned out to be shit. And actually, it turned out they gave the solicitor's firm gave me a refund later because they basically said, yeah, this guy was basically just not doing anything. He weren't doing his work. So that can happen. So there's me imagining. So she's going to do tax. Just to be clear, because I had some people on my channel keep thinking, oh, no, all tax avoidance is bad. Phil, what about ISAs and pensions? That's not tax avoidance. Let's be clear about what tax avoidance is. It's when you arrange your financial affairs with the specific view of avoiding tax that the government want you to pay. So what you're doing, it's legal if you do it right, but you are navigating loopholes. It's not what the government wants. Like the government doesn't want you to pay tax on the interest on ISAs, right? It doesn't want you to pay tax on income that you use for pension contributions. That's the government legislating for that. The government doesn't want you to avoid stamp duty by putting, ownership of a house in a trust, right? Yeah. It doesn't want you to do that. Well, if you're going to do that, it is legal, but you need a specialist because it's difficult. It's deliberately made difficult because you're doing something the government don't want you to do.
Well, exactly. We should point out at this point that there is a big difference between tax avoidance, which is legal, and tax evasion, which is not legal, and what it looks like,
and which it now sounds like Rayner sounds like she's guilty of tax evasion.
Yes,
this is like Nadim Zahawi, because we don't obviously that's for HMRC to decide, not the ethics advisor. But we go back to Nadim Zahawi. Now his was on a much grander scale, of course. He was millions of pounds, but the judgment from HMRC, he tried to claim they said it was not deliberate. It's like, well, there's three things, I think, for HMRC. I'm not a tax lawyer, correct me if I'm wrong, someone who knows better, but I have had some experience with it. If they think it's a completely innocent mistake, right, then you still have to pay the tax, but you don't get fined. You don't get fined for an inadvertent mistake, right? Yeah. The second level, which is what Nadim Zahawi got done for, was reckless behaviour. So he was fined. So that's them basically saying, no, it wasn't an innocent mistake. He was reckless in not seeking the proper legal advice, right? Because he engaged in tax avoidance, but he didn't get it right because he didn't get the right specialist. Well, Rayner's done the same thing. It's for like 40 grand instead of like a few million, but she's done the same thing. She's tried to engage in tax avoidance, and she hasn't hired a tax lawyer or a specialist accountant.
Yeah,
so so she will probably get fined.
Yeah, but being the housing minister, never mind being deputy prime minister, you can't, you just can't go down these routes. Like, what's the freaking point? It just
actually
the fact that this was so bloody unnecessary is annoying. But before we go on, Phil, can I just give a big shout out to everyone watching? I just want to give a big shout out to people in the chat. We've got Chris C in there, and Peter, One Angry Pagan. I've got Person Impersonator, got Liam, Nick in there as well, Francis, MH Carer, and others, SG. If you'd like to join them, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and wait for 1 minute, and you'll be able to join the chat as we're talking. So you'll be able to add your opinion, and if you drop a super chat or you put a really good opinion, we might read it out loud. Anyway, go on, Phil. So what were we saying?
Basically, it can be now be characterised as she's actually broken the law. I mean, it is inadvertent in the sense that she didn't mean to break the law, but she did it, not hiring a tax lawyer for tax avoidance.
Yeah, there was an intention there to not pay her fair share of tax on a house. And Labour are looking to abolish stamp duty. What's that going to do to that now? Because stamp duty, I think, is a stupid tax.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
I think it's a ridiculous tax. It should be, You pay tax when you sell
everyone agrees
something,
it's
not when
a
you buy
stupid tax.
something. It's just, well, I suppose you pay VAT, don't you?
So everyone agrees it's a stupid tax, including the Tories. But yeah, it might add an extra bit of, it might now get people thinking they're getting rid of it. I don't know why people would think it, but they might. You could easily see how, given that Labour are now in a row over stamp duty, if they get rid of stamp duty, some people who don't think about it too deeply might think it looks a bit weird. Yeah. There's all sorts of shit here, but I mean, I'm just going to read something out on terms of the tax avoidance thing. Now, I'm going to say, I'm left wing. I don't like tax avoidance from a moral point of view. Yeah. I don't think Labour should engage in tax avoidance, and I don't think senior members of Labour government should ever engage. Yes, it's legal, and I know my morality I can't impose on others. But I'm just going to read something out. So, Labour's manifesto, right? The first page of policies, which is actually on page 10, there's like 10 pages of shit. But the first page that's actually got any policies on it, page 10, is Labour's first steps for change. Do you remember that? Yeah. Before Rishi Sunak announced the announcement, they had this big thing and they had these 6 steps, right? Yeah. Labour's first steps for change. Number 2, cut NHS waiting times with 40,000 more appointments each week during evenings and weekends, paid for by cracking down on tax avoidance and non-dom loopholes.
Yeah.
So Labour had a big platform of tax avoidance bad, we're going to crack down on it. Deputy leader of the party, Deputy Prime Minister, tax avoidance, brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, see, the thing is, it didn't matter what Tory voters thought about it. It doesn't matter what the Tory press say. Some people are blaming the press over this. I'll tell you something. If we had a completely impartial, unbiased, objective media, nothing would be different here. Nothing would be different, because it is hypocritical to engage in tax avoidance.
It is.
But also,
but
she has done worse. If she'd have at least complied with the law, then it's a matter of morality, and morality is subjective. It would then have been down to the court of public opinion, right? But she's broken the law. I know people are disappointed she's gone. I'm bitterly disappointed she's gone. I think some people don't realise how bad this is for Labour that she's gone. But nonetheless, if you're going to try and say you're going to try and restore trust in politics, and you're going to let Louise Haigh go for something as stupid as that bloody phone, you cannot have a Deputy Prime Minister who has broken tax law.
Yeah.
Can't.
So comparing this with Sahari earlier, but also what about Jeremy Hunt? He had 7 properties that he forgot about.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing.
That's right.
You can say, whether the tabloids had gone against her or not, she would have still had to resign. But the reality is that if she was a Tory, this would be a non-story. They wouldn't pursue anything.
100%.
They were just like, fair enough.
No, the double standard is absolutely true. But what I'm saying to you is, and you've just said it yourself, if we had a completely unbiased media, nothing would have changed in this particular instance. Yeah. The Louise Haigh thing probably wouldn't have happened. Yeah. That was just stupid.
Yeah.
I still don't think it should have happened. But again, if you're going to be that, it's actually, someone in my stream actually pointed out a bit of an irony here. It's a bit of a grim irony. There's a bit of a hat trick here. They pointed out that we've now had a corruptions minister resign over corruptions issues, a homelessness minister resign over, they say evicting people. Just to be clear, she didn't actually evict anyone, but nonetheless over a homeless issue. And now we've had a housing minister resign over housing.
It's a bloody disaster. Hey, we got a super chat coming from Matt. Thank you so much, Matt. That's very, very kind of you. £10 super chat. First one of the day. Yay. Labour have to uphold standards. They're not just fighting for their own government, but the proof that elected government can have integrity in the first place. Whataboutery won't cut it.
There is,
I've got to agree.
The thing is, if she'd have been cleared, of not breaking the rules, they could have hung on to her and just seen which way public opinion would go.
Yeah.
And I have to say it could go either way. I've been talking to some people, like people on the left who love Angela Rayner, but some of them have turned on her over this. Others have not, of course. So it would have very much come down to not, again, people go, about the Tory media. Remember, the Tory media are moaning about the national insurance rise on businesses and VAT on private schools. That hasn't swayed Labour. Labour aren't swayed by the Tory media. The public can be swayed by them, and then Labour is swayed by the public. Not always in the most strategic way, I think, but they're 100% not swayed by the Tory media, because otherwise they wouldn't have put VAT on private schools, and they would have reversed the national insurance thing, which they couldn't have even afforded to do on businesses.
Well, in the chat, Jazuki says, I give up on Labour. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are just like, this is the last straw over the last year or so of Labour not delivering things in the way that people want to see them delivered is the best way I could put that without...
Yeah, I think, I keep saying this, don't I? They are delivering a lot of things. Angela Rayner, I mean, I've read her resignation letter. She lists a load of things she's delivered. We're just not seeing it yet, but it is there. Yeah. Honestly, it's in the pipipeline.
Yeah, but this is politics, like this, isn't it? It all comes down to perception. Yeah,
this is political ineptitude.
Yeah.
It's ineptitude.
Yeah.
She should not have engaged in tax avoidance.
No, not in any way, shape,
even if she did it right.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, like, remember, she's the big champion of the left. Like, there's two parts of the left, right? There's what I call the hard left. These are the uncompromising ones. These are the ones that are, fire and fury and all the rest of it. But then you've got people like me. You've got the pragmatic left. She was very pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
She was the perfect deputy leader because woman. Working class, clearly working, like, there's several other members of the cabinet that are working class, but she's the only one who, like, you just listen to it, like, no one's going to say she's not working class, right?
Yeah.
Some of the others, you don't know if they're, like, working class or low middle class, right? With her, it's, like, really clear.
Yeah. I mean, Keir Starmer can go on about his dad being a tool maker, but at the end of the day, he doesn't sound working class.
This was the point, exactly. This was the point I'm making. Same with Nadine Dorries. She's trying to big up her. She has to keep talking about growing up in a Liverpool terrace, right? Because it's not evident, listening to her, that she's working class, right?
Knowsley, not Liverpool.
Whereas
Knowsley. She's not one of ours.
But nonetheless... It's obvious with Rayner. She don't have to. She does sometimes plug these things, but she don't have to because it's evident.
Yeah.
So she ticked all the boxes: woman, ginger, working class, made good. I mean, left school, no qualifications.
Northern.
Yeah, but no left with no qualifications, pregnant, ended up becoming someone who could afford an 800 grand flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just
the streams looks like it's weird for me.
Does it? Is it not?
It's not
streaming properly.
It seems to have frozen, but it may just be me.
Oh, okay. I'm not getting any dropped frames at my end. I'm on quite a low bit rate though. It might be quite blocky. I don't know if people can actually read the text coming up on the screen because we're trying to keep the bit rate quite low. Is anyone complaining? No one's complaining in the chat yet. If there's any technical problems, let us know in the chat because obviously I'm not in my usual setup.
That's fine. I'll just
here
reopen
in
it
Toronto.
on my end.
It's also 8 o'clock in the morning here. Well, it's 8:15 in the morning here in Toronto. We had another super chat come in from Kirsty. Thank you, Kirsty Hamilton. That's very kind of you. Remember Labour and the expenses scandal. Then we had asset stripping Tories, and now this. Yeah, I mean the expenses scandal wasn't just Labour. It was all of the parties. They were all doing it. Don't forget that it was a Tory who claimed expenses for an island for his ducks in his private lake. Just so,
and cleaning them out.
Yeah,
and heating stables. Nadim Zahawi again.
Heating stables. Yeah, that was a tax. And don't forget, these. One of the other problems you've got as well is because of the way that the Tories are, they'll make mistakes. They'll say like Jeremy Hunt, but he'll remember to put like 28 pence down for the money back on a loaf of, on a. I'm trying to think what's 28 pence these days.
28p loaf of bread.
I don't know. 28p. 28p. I was going to say pasty, but that would be 20. Gingerbread man. They get down into the pennies when they're claiming the expenses, but then when it's something like they've got to pay, suddenly they get very forgetful and very like, oh, hang on, what's happening here?
Yeah, I know.
But Sam says, I can't believe.
I mean, the thing in her case, I will just point out, obviously, because people will think what they think, but at the end of the day, it will have been inadvertent in the sense she didn't actually mean to dodge taxes. She just thought she had a cunning wheeze, right? So it doesn't wreck her career or anything. There's nothing to stop her coming back in a couple of years. It's just that in the here and now, Labour are going to be in a mess.
Yeah. Grimfan999 says, my morale is dead in the water. I want to believe in them and their economic policies are still great, but their social authoritarianism is hard to defend. And Rayner was a beacon of hope and now she's gone. And there's going to be a lot of people feeling like that.
Yeah.
I think that the party conference in a couple of weeks' time is going to be.
Oh, it's going to be flat.
It's going to be like a wake for someone who no one really liked. Actually, no, because that could be quite fun.
No, I don't think
a wake for someone.
No, well, I say it's going to be flat.
Liked.
Actually, it's not. It's not, and this is the problem. Because the biggest problem, there's a huge problem, and I talked about this in a video yesterday. There's now a huge problem with housing. That's a crucial project for Labour, and now the minister who knows everything about it is gone.
Yeah.
So they have to get someone else, and that person cannot possibly know everything. They won't have their finger on all the necessary pulses, so to speak. So that could delay it, and it's already considered tight enough. But then you've got the problem with the deputy. There's going to have to be a now contest for deputy leader. So that'll actually be the buzz at the conference. And for me, what I want, there is no one else like Rayner. That's the perfect one. You could maybe think someone like Jess Phillips, maybe, but she also, maybe. But the fear, my big fear, and again, I said this before, I love Ed Miliband, but he did not do a lot of permanent damage to the Labour Party. Who would think it's a good idea to have them? I don't even think it's a good idea for members to vote for the leader. But if you have to accept that that's the way it's going, who on earth thinks it's a good idea to get them to vote for the deputy leader as well?
Well, I was going to talk about this next. Like, what's next for Labour? We'll talk about who becomes deputy prime minister. I mean,
not necessarily anyone.
Think of anyone. And I was going to say,
you don't need one.
Do you think they'll just abolish the post?
It's a post that's it comes in and out of fashion all the time. Like, in terms of past deputy prime ministers, we had really?
Prescott.
Dominic Raab was made deputy prime minister. Yeah, just John Prescott. But then when Blair and he sort of stepped aside, then you had Gordon Brown, and Harriet Harman was the deputy leader. She wasn't the deputy prime minister though. But under the Tories even, they didn't really have one. Nick Clegg, because that was for the coalition, right? But after that, they did have Dominic Raab at one point, but that was only to keep him sweet when Johnson had to demote him from Foreign Secretary because he cocked up over Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But they don't really have
so many scandals.
I don't think there was one.
With them all.
So we don't actually very often have a deputy prime minister. So it is more normal not to have a deputy prime minister. So there's no need. But it will cause friction.
Yeah.
My fear is that the party members, because they think Starmer's taken the wrong direction on too many things, they will somehow think that getting a deputy leader who will be in his face publicly will somehow steer him to better waters. It's like, no, you will just end up with this isolated deputy leader making the party look very, very disunited to the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Starmer doesn't have to do anything. They will be, according to the party rules, they'll be in cabinet, right? They'll have a seat. So we'll get there. So if you can get a pragmatic person, if you can get someone who's willing to be pragmatic opposition within Labour but behind closed doors, like Rayner was at times, that will work. I don't even care who it is, as long as it's someone pragmatic at this point, because I fear the worst. But Starmer doesn't have to do anything with them. He doesn't have to make them deputy prime minister, but if he doesn't, that could cause aggro. He doesn't have to put them in charge of a government department like he did Rayner, but if he doesn't, that could cause aggro.
Well, who is there?
There are lots of people.
You were saying in the chat earlier that there were people who want to get someone who hates Starmer as the deputy prime minister, and that all they'll do is criticise what they're doing, and they won't get anywhere.
If Diane Abbott stands for it, Labour are basically buggered. That's it. So I think this is arguably a bigger problem for the next election than Reform UK or the Your Party, or maybe a populist Green Party. All of this stuff is like, splitting of the left-wing vote, and, Reform UK's populism is all a really serious threat to Labour. This arguably is the biggest threat.
Yeah.
Because if Labour appear disunited to the public, they've got no chance.
So what do you think they should do?
Well, there's nothing they can do. Like, this is down to the process.
Well, they're going to have to do something, aren't they?
No, they can't do anything. As in, who do you mean by they?
What Labour? What should
Labour
do
leadership,
now?
They can't do anything.
If you were in charge of Labour and you were like, okay, right,
it's nothing.
Crisis meeting. We've got nothing. What do you
mean?
Out
your hands. It's out your hands. The process is really simple. The process is 80 Labour MPs are needed to get you on the first stage. There's multiple stages of this ballot To get you on the first stage, you need backing of
I
80
don't mean
Labour
about
MPs.
Sorry, I don't mean about the deputy leadership election, if there is one. I'm talking about Labour in general. Like,
at the moment, the only positive out of this is you can at least claim that you are holding yourself to extremely high standards. Keir Starmer can come out and praise Rayner to the rafters, say she's been absolutely brilliant, list her achievements, and say, but we are so committed to high standards that there are no exceptions.
Yeah.
That is the positive spin you put on this. And then start to talk about how much tax Nigel Farage avoids.
Yes, turn it round to Nigel Farage and all his.
Because Nigel Farage, loving this, his conference has started today. He looks like a Cheshire cat today.
He got away with
turn it back on him.
Inciting a riot online. He wants to stop people being arrested for inciting violence online because he wants to be able to do it and get away with it.
Yeah,
Simple
exactly.
as that.
He wants to do it openly and get away with it.
Yeah. Chris C is saying Farage has said to his conference audience that Rayner's actions scream of entitlement.
I know, absolute hypocrisy. Again, Labour should come out with, I'm sure they will do, whether they do it effectively is another matter, but they absolutely need to come out with, what about your tax avoidance, mate? He gets paid by GB News, he gets it paid into a business account that's offshore, which means that the tax he pays on it, instead of being 40% to 25%, so he dodges 15% tax. And the Guardian worked out he gets paid two grand an hour for his GB News work.
Christ.
And he's dodging 15% of that in tax with tax avoidance. But of course, he's got a tax lawyer. He's made sure he don't fall foul of the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the thing, the aristocracy or the neo-aristocracy, they have their systems in place. They have their old school chums who are now lawyers and accountants and financial advisors, and they make sure that all the loopholes that the Tory governments over the years have put in place on purpose so they don't have to pay tax. And unfortunately, Keir rhymes with two-tier, which is a shame because Farage is the real two-tier guy in all this. Absolutely. He thinks that it should be one rule for rich, privileged, privately educated pricks like him, and then another rule for everybody else.
He wants war of the world, doesn't he? He wants like this society split in two, where you've got your elites and you've got your slaves.
Yeah, the haves and have-nots, and he's very much a have and always has been. But yeah, Grimfang says, entitlement. There are so many words I want to use to exchange my rage, but YouTube will censor it as it's a rubbish streaming platform. Well, yeah, Grim, I completely understand your feelings on this, mate. But I will say that I don't mind YouTube censoring some of the messages on here because I don't want some messages coming up, to be honest with you, if people are writing in all caps and swearing and making, doing racial or homophobic slurs. So I mean, I'm not saying you are, I'm saying, that there is a filter in place, which is kind of handy when you're streaming and you can't be everywhere at once. Mean Shock says £2,000 an hour, all he does is spout absolute drivel. Oh, alarm going off there. And One Eggy Ping says, this feels like Woden's fuckery. What? Wogan or Woden? Hilgara says, the plans, okay, that's something else. And it is just really, really grim, the situation that Labour have found themselves in on the eve of their conference. And you say that one of the things might be that they can sort of spin it as in, when
that's the only positive
mess up. But also, could this be an opportunity for Labour to have a bit of a new start? Because this was supposed to be Labour 2.0, wasn't it? But they only moved Darren Jones and then slotted some people into the positions that he
But that's a good... I don't want a reshuffle. Like, literally, I keep saying it, whenever you... ministers know their stuff, they're on top of their stuff. If you move a minister, the next one who comes in doesn't know what's going on, right? And also, if there are any people in the Department of Civil Service, if you've actually got some genuine Sir Humphreys who sort of want something shelved, they'll just shelve it, right? Like, new person comes in, they don't know what's going on. This is why one of the things that caused a lot of malaise in the Tory government, it wasn't just like because they don't like governing. It was also because they just kept constantly changing ministers.
Didn't they have like 13 education secretaries? Was it 13 they had?
Something like that in the end. Admittedly, there was a hell of a lot of turnover in 2022. But nonetheless, yeah, they were just constantly changing them. And you need people to stay in place. So unfortunately, the worry for me is this provides that opportunity for a reshuffle that I don't want. Labour's problems at the moment are entirely centred in number 10 and number 11 Downing Street. Now, some of the changes they made might improve things in number 11, but number 10 needs to sort its own house out, literally.
Sean, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Where there's smoke, there's farage. I do like that. That's very good. Sam says by-election calls Monday morning. For Rayner to lose her seat?
No, she's not going to resign from us as an MP. That'd be mad.
No. And Russ Skinner says we had a new minister every bloody week under the Tories. That is very true. Heya says Starmer rival Rayner wanted to stop foreign donations like the millions arranged by Lord Ali. Inadvertently helped.
He's not foreign. What the hell?
Donations arranged by Lord Ali.
Yeah, but Labour are doing that.
Not necessarily that and inadvertently
they are stopping foreign donations
to the McSweeney project, et al. Project. And then Grim says if we get to vote on the new Deputy Prime Minister, we need a trans ally in place. That's my top priority. Someone who can point out the other idiocy of the government's social policies. That goes back to what you were saying earlier, which you said in the chat, is like if we have someone who's just going to slag off Labour all the time, if you do something, like it'll be no victory to any trans allies if the next government's Reform UK. Yeah.
Right. And it will be no victory to anyone. So by all means, get someone like what you're talking about. Then is you'd want someone who can talk strategically about it, not just say this is wrong for fire and brimstone reasons. But they can only do that behind closed doors. Now, the fact that, the Deputy Leader, remember, it's not Deputy Prime Minister. There is no election for Deputy Prime Minister. There doesn't need to be a Deputy Prime Minister. If the Deputy Leader is someone who's a dickhead, they won't even be made Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah.
What they get is they get a seat in the cabinet. That's it. So when you just remember that if you are in Labour, if you're voting for the Deputy Leader, you're voting for someone who has a seat at the table. Nothing beyond that. Don't think it's a replacement for Rayner. The reason Rayner was made Deputy Prime Minister and given that really important job is because she proved herself to Starmer. That was in Starmer's gift to grant. Labour members can only decide the Deputy Leader, which is there's not really a lot to deputy. All it means is, if Starmer steps down while they arrange for another leader, the Deputy Leader then just takes over as interim leader. That's literally it.
Yeah. So that was Harriet Harman. You said she wasn't Deputy Prime Minister, was she?
She wasn't Deputy Prime Minister, no.
Leader of the party, but that didn't translate to her because, Brown from 2007 to 2010,
he didn't want a Deputy Prime Minister for whatever reason.
Yeah. Trip says, good to see Graham safe and sound and the hat made it through customs. Thanks, Trip. Hey, listen, I didn't, no human took my passport and stamped it or went through it or asked me any questions. It was I didn't show anyone my passport except as I was getting on the plane. When you give your boarding pass or whatever and they take your passport and they check your name on the passport matches the one on your boarding pass. That's it. Got on board the plane in Manchester, and when I got to Canada, that they had these machines that you just scanned your passport in, and it asked you if you were, why you were here, and then it said, here you go, take this printout to one of the desks, and they have all these desks where they have people asking questions and stamping passports and stuff, and I go to, and the guy's like, no, just go through. And I'm like, do I not have to show this to anyone? I felt like really, when you feel like you should be doing a thing and you don't do it, and you're like, I'm sure this is going to come back and bite me on the ass. But no, just go through. But yeah, open borders.
So it sounds like it's easier for you to go to Canada than it is to go to France at the
moment. It is. It literally is. Because I went to France earlier in the summer and it was a big queue because you've got in St. Pancras, it's just, they don't have the space, you go to the airport and they have the big room with all the snaky barriers and everything. they don't have the space for that in St Pancras. It's an old train station, and the way it used to be is you just flash your passport and they'll go, yeah, all right. Now they have to go through it, they have to stamp it, and you've got the British side, and then you walk a few metres, you get to the French side, so it doesn't have to be stamped at the other end when you get off in Lille or Paris or whatever. And so the whole process, that the French have got to check that you haven't been in the Schengen area for more than 90 days in the last 180 and all this kind of shit. And it's like, what have we done? Like, what the hell have we done? But yeah, we're getting a little bit off the topic here. So you mentioned earlier about it would be a disaster if certain people are elected to.
If Labour cannot present a united front, that's curtains. But it's absolute curtains. It's the reason why a load of Tories, even though they knew Brexit was a stupid idea, kept quiet because the threat to them was, if we're disunited, you let Corbyn in, right? And it's the same reason why Nigel Farage doesn't allow a proper party structure reform. Okay, he's going to micromanage everything because disunity is. It doesn't matter how good you sound. If you look like you're rats fighting in a sack, they're not going to vote for you. Public don't vote for you.
BBC reporting that they are going to announce a new deputy prime minister, and obviously we don't need an election for that.
That's a weird thing. I would have left it. I suppose they might be thinking strategically here. If I was to think why he would do that, it will be because he could say, well, I want a deputy prime minister. It will take, at least a couple of months, maybe more, to get the new deputy leader in place of the party. Yeah. And it's a way of Starmer saying, well, I need a deputy now. And that means then there's no pressure for him to make the deputy leader the deputy prime minister.
Yeah, and also,
because he'll have a deputy prime minister.
It could be two different people. And also, according to Henry Zeffman at the BBC, this will be seen as potentially a significant influence on the deputy leadership election. So, okay, you've said that you don't want Diane Abbott as deputy leader or deputy PM. Who would you?
Yeah, I don't think she's the greatest asset.
So I was thinking, basically, I don't think it can be a white
Jess
man.
Phillips. If I had to pick someone, I'd say Jess Phillips.
Yeah,
because she ticks a lot of the same box that Rayner, not quite as ideal. Because
what about Emily?
I say that. See,
Thornberry?
Sometimes you come across people who think she's a bit gobby, but then I've come across even working class people who think the same. There's a lot of snobbery in this country.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot of people, even working classes, don't like Rayner.
Yes.
So I would, if I had to just, but at the end of the day, we just have to see who puts themselves forward. I mean, I'm not going to get to vote on it. I'm not a Labour anymore, so I might have my say when they come out. But my main thing will be, yes, you want someone who can provide that counter voice in cabinet, not in public.
Yeah.
Like Rayner. Rayner was absolutely superb.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, and I mean, that this is it's going to be a difficult situation for Labour. I don't think that the deputy PM can be a white man. I just don't think that's a good look for Labour, considering the Tories love to bash Labour over the head.
So what you're saying is,
Graham, yes, I want positive discrimination, but they've had three female.
No, I
PMs,
wasn't going to suggest that.
Labour haven't even had a female leader.
They haven't, not a proper one, no. Obviously, technically, they've had two, but only on an interim basis. So what you're basically saying is he shouldn't make West Street in the deputy.
Yes, Phil, that's exactly what I'm saying. 100 times.
In all honesty, though, Deputy Prime Minister, remember, their main job will be dealing with PMQs when Starmer's out the country.
Yes.
So it does need to be someone who's good at the dispatch box.
Yeah, Emily Thornberry,
preferably.
Jess Phillips,
again,
they are good. Stella Creasy,
realistically, if we're going no,
no,
realistically,
right, okay.
No, because realistically, it will have to be a Secretary of State.
Okay.
If he's going to appoint a deputy prime minister that's not the deputy leader of the party, it will have to be someone who's already very senior. So it has to be a Secretary of State. So you're talking about, I mean, you can reshuffle or something, but you are talking about the current Secretaries of State. You've got to think through those.
Ruskin says Jess Phillips would really piss off reform, so that's a good choice. It's one way of looking at it. Yeah. And MZ just says no. ... Streeting. Yes, there's a time and place for word streeting. The time is yesterday, and the place is in the bin.
See, he is good at the dispatch box, but at the same time, we need What about Yvette Cooper? She's good at the dispatch box.
Yeah, Michael Warner says Yvette Cooper has my vote, not that I'm a member, but she's Home Secretary, is she? Hey, what?
No, I meant for Deputy Prime Minister.
Can she
I don't
be-
mean for Deputy Leader. For Deputy Prime
Can
Minister.
she be Deputy Prime Minister and Home Secretary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dominic Raab was Foreign Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, and then he
Yeah.
was Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
no
yeah.
problem.
And Nick says Emily Irish
The
passport
job is literally
Thornbury.
just
Sorry.
doing PMQs.
Nick doesn't like Emily Thornbury. Needs to find her anti-Brexit spirit again and start pushing to undo hard Brexit. Well, I mean, she is. She's part of her and Stella Creasy. They're part of a group
She's
in
the Foreign
Labour
Affairs
who are
chair.
currently pushing for stronger ties with Europe within the confines, the constraints that we live in at the moment. Don't forget, Nick, that Brexit's a disaster, right? And the party that gave us Brexit more than anyone else, the Brexit Party, which is now called REFUC, is riding high in the polls. And they're trading off this idea that Brexit would have been a great idea, but it went to another school. Brexit would have been a great idea, but it wasn't implemented correctly. And so I think that Labour are in a difficult position on this. And as much as I would love Labour to announce tomorrow that we're going back into the European Union, I just don't think it's a realistic prospect. I think that the most important thing is that REFUC doesn't get a toehold into government in the next election. And we should all be working towards that.
It actually could. I'll tell you how something could happen. Something will happen at some point. Like this is not the position for the long term. Where it could happen sooner rather than later. So John Curtis, I was reading an interesting article in the BBC, I think it was, where he's talking about, Reform UK's prospect. And obviously he's into his data properly. So he's not just looking at like the headline figures. He looks at who specifically is supporting Reform UK and Labour and all the rest of it. And what he's made the point is, so he accepts that, in a few years' time, Labour could actually deliver, and a lot of that dissatisfaction may melt away that Reform UK are gaining. But where Reform UK may still maintain a stranglehold is over the pro-Brexit voters. Now, if there comes a point where Labour are on the ball and they see that they've got no chance of getting the pro-Brexit voters back, at that point, they can actually shift, can't they?
Yeah.
Because if they can see that, because at the last election, their key voters were a particular group, right? At the next election, it'll be a different group. If Labour will lean into whatever their identified key voters want, and if things change to the point where the key voters that Labour want are anti-Brexit, they can lean further into that really easily, because all the people at the top of Labour are anti-Brexit anyway.
Yeah.
So you never know. You don't rule it out, and a few things could happen over the next few years.
Well, I hope so. I mean, the way Labour's played it at the moment is not making it like a big thing, but I think that they should. I think they should talk about the failure of Brexit more and blame it on Farage. Blame it on Farage.
But they will think it's the government. Remember, they got into dead lumber last year when they were just moaning about the economy and blaming it on the Tories. Like people going, look, we get that. We got rid of them for you. Stop moaning. It's the same thing with Brexit.
Well,
they won't want Labour.
Depressing everyone, weren't they?
Well, they also don't. It'll just sound like excuses, and Farage will just say it's an excuse, because especially if they start doing it after, let's say, next year, because it's like, it's because they thought, they had no plan for turning it around, and now they're looking for excuses because Labour will have clearly changed tack, right?
Yeah.
So no, they need to play it very carefully. But things could change, because at the end of the day, Labour will chase their key voters.
Yes.
They will chase their key voters. At the moment, those key voters are the ones flipping to Reform in like certain seats in the north of England and the North Midlands. But it could change.
But what this is, I think, the REFUC's big fuck up is they have really hitched their whole agenda on stopping the boats, on the people coming over claiming asylum. If Labour sort that out before the next election, what have REFUC got?
I think they're confident they're not going to. I think they can still, like, at the end of the day, Reform UK. Yeah. So if Labour stop the boats, and people, but what the other thing Reform UK are doing is they're just making everyone see enemies and foreigners everywhere, aren't they?
Yes.
And again, if you look at so in Poland, there was some polling on trans attitudes this year, and it showed how that has changed really dramatically just over a 2-year period.
Yes.
Right? People are way more transphobic now compared to even 2 years ago. And that, of course, is just because of heavy media pushing of various things. Now, the election is maybe 4 years away. The media have got 4 years to shift all sorts of attitudes. So we could be in a position where Labour have delivered notable standard of living increases, and that'll be essential. And if that happens, we can hopefully bank on voters deciding not to get rid of a government when things are on the up, right?
Yeah.
They'll let them finish off that decade of renewal. But we could end up with, some attitudes that currently are not that bad, actually becoming much worse over the next few years. And there's other things in the way, like the next election. America either will have gone full authoritarian MAGA, or they will have wrested control of their democracy back and Trump will be gone.
Yeah.
France is actually arguably in just as deep a hole, because I'm not really sure who takes over from Macron. It could be the far right, in which case that's really helpful to Farage and really bad for us. If it's someone on the left, who is it on the left? There's some people on the left that are all right, and there are some people who will be just as useful for Farage. And that'll happen well before our election. So, the state of the government in America and France could have an impact, in a sense, in terms of direction of travel.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things that can be very, very different. This is why I'm really disappointed with Labour not being strategic enough, because they really need to have their finger on the pulse all the time. And they can't be thinking to themselves, this is our plan for 5 years of a parliament. They need to be aware that attitudes are going to change on a penny.
Absolutely. Di's £10 super chat there, very pissed off. Rayner is the real thing. A commisery pint for each of you. Thank you very much, Di. That's very kind of you. On the argument,
She shouldn't have done tax avoidance.
Well, exactly. I mean, if it had been the case that she'd done nothing wrong and she'd been lambasted all over the press, as she did, remember last year when there was a big thing about the fact that she had a house in 2007 and she was moving in with a boyfriend who became a husband, and that was a big nothing burger. And if she'd resigned over that, I would be absolutely...
There was no chance of that.
I'd be violently angry. But that's not the case. Yeah. She has fucked up. It looks like she may have broken the law. And it's the ministerial code. She has to go. I'm upset. I'm pissed off about it. But at the end of the day, Angela Rayner's only got herself to blame. And that's such a horrible cliche, but she really does in this case. Unless I'm misreading the situation terribly, which,
Well, we'll have to find out, again, what will be really... But at the end of the day, if she'd followed the law, there'd have been no reason for her to have, she hasn't... I mean, she said herself in her own letter, she failed to get the adequate tax advice.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Labour actually beefed up the ministerial code when they came to power because they wanted to make this big show of actually, we're not all the same. You can't beef up the ministerial code and then say, oh, she only broke a little law.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be fatal.
No, but she's
done the right thing.
She's done the right thing. She's written a letter. She said she took full responsibility. And she in a handwritten note she said
it listed her achievements. It's a long letter, long achievements.
It's really disappointing, really, really disappointing. And I think as well, couldn't come at a worse time for Labour, to be honest. Well, maybe the week before an election would be the worst time, but at the moment, Labour is really struggling to find its feet. And it just seems to be, I keep making this analogy between Labour and Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes. And every time he steps, he's at another rake to the face, another rake to the face. And it's just for God's sake, Like, can we just have a couple of weeks of Labour not scoring any own goals? Just please, can you just be a bit more bloody functional? And this isn't even anything to do with the comms. This is something else.
No, this particular one has got zero to do with comms. I mean, you can imagine it in Labour as well. They've spent all summer, because they recognise that they're not deluding themselves that everything's fine and dandy. So they've spent summer working out what to do about various things.
Yeah.
They've not taken my advice, obviously. But they've come back, they came out fighting this week, and they go, all right, do this, and this. And then the Rayner things happen. You can all imagine them, MPs and officials, and advisors alike, all going, what the fuck?
Yeah. Clippy,
Seriously?
Thank you so much for the £10 super chat, my friend. That's very kind of you. It doesn't matter whether Labour overall improves things. The perception is increasingly warped by the post-truth infosphere that promotes magical thinking about electing demagogues like Nigel Farage. And I agree. I agree to a certain extent. But like I said about the boats, if Labour set up a processing centre in Calais, get a new deal with the French to say anyone coming on a boat can be sent back to the processing centre, and get all the migrants who are being processed currently, who are being held in hotels, let them work and make it so they're not being held in hotels, and make sure that the processing doesn't take 2 years, it just takes a few months. All that could change things significantly for Labour in terms of the public perception, and it would steal a lot of the thunder from Nigel Farage, because he is absolutely nailing his colours to the mast about being the xenophobic party of you don't like these people from other countries. And I think that if Labour got a handle on that, there could be a huge backlash against refuck, because people go, hang on, no, that is racist now. You're just being racist.
Absolutely. If they actually dealt with that issue, I think that would be huge for them. I think they worry that would just increase the number of asylum seekers, which it would, but the number of asylum seekers is not as large as people think.
Yeah.
And even if you increased it by 50%, do you know what? It's the fact that rules seem to be broken. It's the illegal immigrant side of it that people are opposed to.
Yeah.
No one can claim they're illegal immigrants if they're brought over by a British ship.
Yes.
Like by the government.
Yeah.
So.
And then Labour can stand up and say we got rid of all the illegal immigrants.
Mental.
All of them. There are no illegal immigrants now in the UK. Not one. And then.
Well, Trump's claimed that there are have entered America. He's claimed that no illegal immigrants have entered America in a particular month this summer. Labour could say the same thing, because at the end of the day, if you're removing everyone who has come over, illegally, even if they're an asylum seeker, obviously we know that they're not illegal.
Yeah.
But if they're being sent, we're still taking care of them.
Yeah.
Then, you can solve the whole problem, and you can make that claim. You can make the claim. Well, there's no one coming. There's no illegal immigrants coming in at all, and yet they will not be able to make that claim at the next election.
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit of a side for this, but obviously there was a lot of pressure put on Angela Rayner, and as we've said, she probably would have had to resign anyway, because it looks like she may have actually broken the law.
Yeah, the Tories are delighted at this.
Martin's saying your solicitor calculates stamp duty, you just pay what they tell you, but she should have had a specialist tax advisor. That's
no, it's it's not. It's the tax. Her conveyancers gave her the right information based on what she told them, and what she told them was, I don't have a controlling stake in any other property. So they said, well, you're paying the primary residency tax stamp duty rate, not the secondary, not the second home duty rate. But that's because she thought putting her stake in like that family home she got with her ex-husband into trust meant that she didn't have a controlling stake in it. It's like, but no, but you still she is still controlling that trust. Like she still controls it. And an actual tax lawyer would have either set it up so she didn't have control, or they'd have told her, you still have control of this.
Yeah.
So she didn't, she didn't engage someone who's tax avoidance. Like hopefully no one here ever engages in it. I mean, most of us probably can't even afford to, but if you can, and you do, you have to get a specialist, because you're literally trying to avoid the tax man.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're doing it legally, but you're doing it what you're doing is you're following the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. So you need a lawyer.
Yeah.
If you've got a tricky legal situation, everyone knows you need a specialist lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've got some interesting comments coming in about, people feeling on one side or the other. Mike Dix is in the chat. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Hopefully Mike will be MC tonight on the Friday Night Social. And Mike says, I backed Rosanna Allen Khan last time. Maybe if she's up for it, she'll be a good candidate. But didn't she have to stand down over some scandal? Or
hope... No.
No. Okay, she was just pissed off.
She's not been involved in a scandal. I maybe I'm a big supporter of hers. My question mark over her, and it's only a question.
Is she the doctor? Is she the
she's
one
very
who works
clever.
as a doctor?
Yeah, she's the doctor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I voted for her.
I like her. She's good.
But my only question mark over her is, will she keep disagreement? Because she'll have those disagreements. She's very much on the left as well.
Yes.
Will she? And she's very clever. Will she keep those disagreements behind closed doors? If so, I would 100% back her again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there's a reason why Starmer shuffled her out. And was it just that, they just don't see eye to eye or something like that? Or, which I don't mind, or is it because she doesn't necessarily... it's got to be someone, if Labour are not going to suffer from it, it's got to be someone who accepts ministerial responsibility.
Yeah.
Which is that publicly you toe the party line. Privately, of course, you can have those disagreements. But publicly, but the deputy leader does not have to accept ministerial responsibility because they won't have to be a minister.
No.
So that's my only question mark with her. I actually don't know I'm not saying it because I've got suspicions. I just honestly don't know. That is my issue with anyone. Some people have been in position, like Emily Thornberry has provably been in a position where she will toe the party line. She has had to defend the indefensible under both Starmer and Corbyn. So I'd be perfectly happy for her. Some people have suggested her.
Who? Sorry, who did you say? I missed that.
Emily Thornberry.
Oh, yeah. No, she's very good, and she's very good at the dispatch box as well. So if she has to do deputy PMQs, she'll be excellent at that.
No. Just to be clear, the deputy leader will not do.
Oh, sorry, leader. I thought you were talking about deputy PM.
Because no. Again, the deputy PM will have to be a current Secretary of State.
Okay.
Makes no sense to appoint anyone that's not a Secretary of State.
So Yvette Cooper.
So I'm thinking Yvette Cooper for that.
Okay, all right. Christy says, I'm keeping an eye on Reform's conference. Some of the bile coming out of Farage's mouth would be laughable if it wasn't so concerning. He's just a vile person, and he's just gone over to America to ask them to put trade sanctions on us because human rights are being violated, and they've twisted what's happened. They've made out that Graham Linehan was arrested by five armed police officers for sending a tweet. That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
And in actual fact,
he didn't just send a tweet. He encouraged people to physically attack, to assault, to cause grievous bodily harm against a minority, which has been an illegal thing since the 1980s. That was under Thatcher that came in, and the only reason why the police who arrested him were armed is that he was arrested at an airport, where it's one of the few places in the country where the police are actually fucking armed. So, I mean, just that the whole stage.
And also, he actually acted violently himself.
Yes.
He effectively assaulted her. It's been done. It's not been done for assault but criminal damage because he knocks the phone out of her hand. But how do you knock someone's phone out of their hand without assaulting them effectively?
Yeah, and let's not forget any physical altercation or whatever. If someone touches you in any way, it is technically assault under our law. That is the law. And now he's going to be the poster boy now for how unfair the system is and how we're living in North Korea. And I was talking about this with my American friends here in Canada and also my Canadian friends about just how difficult it is to get into America now. They're checking your social media, and in Canada, they're not even checking you. Well, I mean, I suppose you have to scan your passport in, but you don't have to give it to someone and then answer 20 questions about where you've been and what you've done and who you've been hanging out with and all that kind of nonsense. And for America to call Britain authoritarian at this point is just mind-blowing.
I could reel off so many ways in which they're crushing freedom of speech. You get to the point where you think at some point customs control in America will just be two doors. It'll be one that says Trump's the greatest, you go through there into America, and the other one that says Trump's a dickhead, you go through that and you fall into the alligator pit.
Yeah, bad news as well. The alligator Alcatraz has been given a reprieve by a court, an appeals court. So this horrific concentration camp in the Everglades is gonna stay there, unfortunately, for the time being. Clupid Bloroscope, he said that people should punch trans women in the groin. That's literal incitement to violence. Yeah, Clupid Bloroscope, you're absolutely right. And Graham Linehan should go to jail for what he's done. He's broken the law, but he'll be made a poster boy for this free speech. Yeah. Have you noticed how it's only free speech when Farage agrees with it?
Exactly. This is precisely it.
It was.
Also hypocrites.
It was nice to
I'd have more time for genuine free speech absolutists. There are some people who just think, say what you like. And I'd still take exception with that, because someone's right to peace and dignity and safety is more important than your right to spout stuff. But nonetheless, I would at least have some respect for that position, because if someone holds a consistent view, that's fine. This is not consistent.
Yeah, we demand consistency in your views. But yeah, the hypocrisy on the right is just it's horrific. Personator, anyone thinks they're not somewhere on Farage's hit list is either a billionaire or not paying attention. I don't think you're wrong. I do not think you're wrong. And and Urbane Legend says every accusation is a confession with the right, and I absolutely agree with that as well. So we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes' time, Phil. But before we go, if you were Keir Starmer's advisor, I'll put you on the spot this afternoon, and you sit down with him, and he goes, "What the fuck do we do, Phil? What would you recommend? What would be your Phil's bill of
literally to come out and praise all the work she's done, because that'll then give you a leaning into the stuff, the renters' rights bill and all the housing work that's been done, and so she's going to be a tough act to replace. But we all agreed, all of us in Labour, that we are going to hold ourselves to the highest possible standards. That is why we actually beefed up the ministerial code. We made it much stronger than it was under the Tories, and we are going to live by that. And that is why Angela, who has done an absolutely superb job for this country, has chosen to resign, because we all agreed we have to hold ourselves to the very highest standards. That's the positive spin on you put on it.
Yeah.
And then make Yvette Cooper Deputy Prime Minister, because she's the safest option, I think.
Okay.
She's a northern woman as well.
Yeah. And she's good at the dispatch box.
Yes, she's very good. She takes no shit.
She doesn't. Kirsty says Daily Blase at 5 p.m. So if you want to join our friend Darren, it was great to see our friend, or hear our friend Femi get referenced in the US Congress when they were grilling Farage about throwing journalists out of their conference.
Yes.
And to be clear here, Femi did have a press pass to the conference, and he was physically escorted out of the conference. I mean, and that is just goes to show how, we there's not that much that we can do in the positions we are. We're not elected. We're not, we're gobs on a stick on the internet. But at the end of the day, we can influence this stuff. We can do things that actually go, ripple down the line. I'm sure when Femi got thrown out of that conference last year, he had no idea that they were going to be talking about it in Congress the year after, when Farage was turning up asking them to put sanctions on the UK. A traitriot. That was the word that Mike came up with today. A traitriot.
I've tried to put together a House of Commons petition, because it's now just seeing if they'll they've lasered all of mine in the past, but they might let this one through. And it basically calls on if the government need to review the National Security Act, because in actual fact, what Nigel Farage did in America, some people have even done it, and even Twitter has grassed him up. But I would suggest that Farage meets all the requirements for a criminal investigation on the subject of foreign interference. Yeah. And one of my comments, someone's commented, they asked Grok that, and Grok said, yeah, it probably should be done under the National Security Act. So I'm putting a petition together. If it passes now, the petitions committee, and I have kept his name out of it. Everyone will know what it's about. I've tried to be cunning. If it gets, I'll post it up, and then if we can get 10,000 signatures.
Yeah. Do you mind if I post it on here now?
It doesn't exist yet because it's got to be cleared now.
Yeah.
But
have you got all the sponsors that you
everywhere? Yes, I've got the sponsors. So it's now just gone to the committee to decide whether they want it to be unleashed upon the public.
Okay.
In the past, when I've done petitions, they've said no, fuck off.
Well, yeah,
so
I did one about
we'll destroy
Twitter.
it with space lasers. They've said.
Yeah, I did one about Twitter getting banned in the UK for inciting violence and stuff, and they said they can't because it's a private company. They can't make it. They can't.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've been cunning. I've not named anyone. I've just given some context into why I think maybe the government need to look at to see if the National Security Act needs strengthening, on the basis of it being possible for MPs to appear to breach the foreign interference clause in it and not get investigated. But if it gets 10,000 views, then there has to be a government response. If it gets 100,000, there's a debate. That'll be spicy.
Right. Okay. But you've got the sponsors that you need to get to the next stage already.
I've got it's all okay. Through to the committee now.
It takes about 2 months,
I've done.
Well,
really, at the end of the day, it's one of these things. As long as it's done before the next election, right? We're not in a hurry.
Anyway, right, my energy saver's gone on because my plug isn't quite plugged into the wall for my laptop. Because I'm in they're using American style plugs and they don't. It just must be hanging out the wall because that's what happens because it's just two little tiny pins, not like a proper British plug.
Two-pronged things. Why the two-pronged things? They're not good.
I know. Well, it's the reason why we've got to wrap it up there because otherwise my laptop's going to run out of power. So smash that like button, folks. Screams Diz, and you're absolutely right. Please give us a like before you leave. That would be entirely awesome if you would do that. And thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tonight at 9:30 with the Friday night social. Well, I hope to be at some point. I'll drop in, probably from the mean streets of Toronto. Phil, you've got a live show tomorrow at 7 o'clock, is it, that you do your live show on Saturdays? Yeah. So please join Phil on At A Different Bias.
It'll probably be at Nigel Farage, I'll warn you now.
God. I wish he'd go away. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the super chats. And until next time, I'll just say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.